The Thanksgiving storm hit faster than anyone expected. Snow came down in sheets, turning the highway into a long white tunnel. Jordan kept both hands tight on the wheel of his delivery van. He had one last drop-off before he could go home. One more delivery, one more signature. Then Thanksgiving dinner with his own family. But the storm had other plans. The GPS on his dashboard flickered twice. Then it shut off completely. His phone followed, screen freezing, then going black. The radio turned to static. Every light on the van dimmed like the storm was draining the power out of everything. Jordan slowed to a crawl. The road markers disappeared under the snow. The world outside was nothing but swirling white. He told himself to stay calm. Just find a safe spot to pull over. Wait it out. Then, through the storm, he saw it. A warm light. Golden. Flickering through the snow like a candle behind frosted glass. A house. In the middle of nowhere. Every other home on this route was dark for miles. But this one glowed like it was expecting him. Jordan eased the van toward it, tires struggling through the drifts. A wooden sign buried halfway in snow read, Hawthorne Residence, Eston 1924. He parked in the driveway, relieved just to have found something that wasn't ice and darkness. Warm light spilled from the windows. Shadows moved inside. Slow, calm silhouettes of a family preparing dinner. He approached the front door. Before he could knock, it creaked open on its own. A woman stood there, smiling gently. "Cold night, isn't it?" she said. "Come in, dear. Dinner's just about ready." Jordan hesitated. Something about her smile felt practiced, but the warmth pouring from the house was irresistible after the frozen highway. He stepped inside. The door closed behind him with the softest click. Too soft, too final. And the smile on her face didn't change at all. Not even a little. Warm air wrapped around Jordan the moment he stepped inside. The smell of roasted turkey drifted through the hall. Cinnamon, brown sugar, fresh bread. It was like walking straight into a Thanksgiving postcard. But something felt staged, too perfect, too still. The house was old but spotless. Every picture frame hung perfectly straight. Not a speck of dust anywhere. And the warm yellow lights didn't flicker, even though the storm outside was howling. "Please," the woman said, still smiling in that same fixed way. "Take off your coat. You must be freezing." Jordan nodded politely, but inside he felt a twist of unease. Her voice was calm, soft, but there was no warmth behind it. Nothing human. A tall man stepped into the hallway. He wore a sweater vest and round glasses. He looked like someone's grandfather. Except his expression didn't change at all when he saw Jordan. Not even a little flicker of surprise. "Asa," the woman said, turning to him but keeping that same frozen smile. "Our guest has arrived." Guest? Jordan hadn't said a word about staying, but the man nodded slowly like all of this had been expected. "Dinner is ready," he said. "We should take our seats." The woman gestured toward the dining room. "Please, join us. It is Thanksgiving after all." Jordan took a cautious step forward. He didn't want to be rude. He needed to use a phone. Maybe even stay until the storm eased up. But the deeper he walked into the house, the heavier the air felt. Like the walls were listening. Like the house was waiting. He reached the doorway to the dining room and froze. The table was set for 6. Every plate matched. Every glass sparkled. Candles burned steadily despite no vents or airflow. But the thing that made Jordan's stomach drop was the turkey. It sat perfectly centered on the table. Golden, crisp, steam rising from its skin, except it wasn't carved, and it wasn't cooked. It was completely raw, just neatly shaped to look cooked. He stepped back instinctively. The woman placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Her hand was ice cold. "Come," she whispered. "Sit with us. We've been waiting a very long time." Jordan's pulse thudded in his ears. The raw turkey. The perfectly still air. The 2 polite hosts. Everything in him whispered leave. But the storm outside roared so violently, the windows rattled. If he stepped back out there, he might not make it to another house at all. So he stayed. For the moment, the woman guided him toward a chair at the end of the long table. Her grip was firm, much stronger than she looked. When he sat down, he noticed something that made his skin crawl. The 5 other chairs weren't empty. They each had neatly folded napkins placed on the seats. Napkins shaped like faces, little pointed shapes for noses, hollow indentations for eyes, like placeholders for people who weren't coming back, or people who had never left. Across from him, the man named Asa lowered himself into a chair with a stiff, mechanical motion. He folded his hands on the table. His eyes didn't blink, not once. The woman took the seat closest to Jordan. Her smile was still fixed in place, but her expression wasn't the strangest thing. It was the smell. Up close, it wasn't turkey he smelled, or cinnamon, or anything comforting. It was chemicals, preservatives, like the inside of an old museum. "Would you like to say grace?" the woman asked. Jordan hesitated. "I think I should find a phone. Just to call someone. Let them know I'm safe." The two of them turned toward him in perfect unison. Perfect, unnatural, synchronized, like puppets pulled by the same string. Asa's voice came out flat and calm. "There is no reception here. There hasn't been for a long, long time." Jordan frowned. "But you said you saw me from the window." "We did," the woman whispered. "We kept watch. We knew this year might finally bring a guest." Jordan felt a shiver crawl up the back of his neck. He pushed back from the table. "I think I should go." The candles flickered suddenly, though there was no draft. The woman slowly shook her head. "You can't leave," she said softly. Not threatening, not angry, just certain. As if the decision was made long before he walked through the door. Jordan swallowed hard. "What do you mean I can't leave?" Asa lifted one stiff, bony hand and gestured behind him. Jordan turned toward the hallway and froze. Every framed photograph on the walls had changed. They all showed the same dining room he was sitting in now, but with different strangers at the table. Different years, different storms outside, and in every single picture, the guests looked terrified. My breath caught in my throat. Those photos, those faces. Every guest looked like they were mid-panic, caught at the exact moment they realized something was horribly wrong. And each picture had a year printed beneath it. 1983, 91, 2004, 2016. But the most unsettling part, there were no photos after 2016, as if no one had escaped to take another. Asa spoke again, his voice low and hollow. "They stayed with us, every one of them." The woman added softly, "It's tradition. Thanksgiving must be shared." A cold sweat crept down my spine. I pushed my chair back slowly, legs trembling. "I appreciate the help, really, but I need to get home. My family's expecting me." The woman tilted her head, the motion too smooth, too rehearsed. "You're home now." I took a step back. Asa's eyes followed me, unblinking. "Sit," he murmured. "Storm's too strong. Roads washed out. No use running." My hand brushed against the front door handle. Cold metal. Hope. I twisted it and felt nothing. The handle didn't move. Locked, bolted from the inside, sealed. The woman rose from her chair with that same puppet-like grace. "You'll hurt yourself pulling on that," she said gently. "Asa locks it for the night. Guests should feel safe." I wasn't safe. I knew it now. My heart hammered against my ribs. I backed away from the door and scanned the room for another exit. A window, a back door, a gap. Anything. The woman stepped closer. "We don't move on, you see," she whispered. "Not until the table is complete again." "Move on?" I asked, voice shaking. "To where?" She smiled wider. "We passed years ago. Storm caught our wagon. They never found us. But The holiday must be kept. Traditions matter. The air in the room turned colder. The lights dimmed. Asa's skin looked even paler in the candle glow, almost waxy. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a rug. The woman extended her hand toward me. You'll keep the holiday alive. You'll stay with us. Forever. Behind her, the candles flickered again. And suddenly the other chairs, those ones with the napkins shaped like faces, weren't empty anymore. I blinked hard. My eyes burned, my mind refusing to accept what I was seeing. Those empty chairs weren't empty anymore. Each one now held a person, but not alive. Faces pale, sunken, frozen in expressions of shock, fear, or sorrow. Their eyes were open, staring right at me, glassy and unmoving, like they'd been sitting at that table for years, waiting. I staggered back. No, I'm imagining this. But the air was too cold. The candle flames leaned toward the figures as if pulled by their presence. A pressure built in my ears like the house was inhaling. The woman clasped her hands gently. Don't be afraid. They were just like you once. Travelers, lost, hungry, lonely on the holiday. Asa stepped forward. They found a place at our table, and now, so have you. One of the figures twitched, not much. Just a tiny jerk of the head. But enough. I felt my stomach twist, my legs wobbling. I don't belong here, I whispered. Let me go, please. The woman sighed softly, almost sympathetically. We would never hold someone who didn't want to stay. But the house, eyes drifted toward the ceiling. The house decides. Asa nodded slowly. It kept us here when we tried to leave. We died in the storm, but the house, it didn't notice. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. So you're saying you're trapped? The woman shook her head. Not trapped, preserved. Like a tradition, like a memory one refuses to let go of. Asa stepped closer, his footsteps soundless. And now the house has chosen you. A violent gust slammed against the walls. The windows shuddered. The lights flickered. A deep groan echoed through the beams above us, like something massive shifting in its sleep. The woman placed a delicate hand on my shoulder. My skin went numb where she touched me. It's time to take your seat. I jerked away from her, adrenaline firing through me. No, I'm not dying here. I'm not part of your holiday ritual. The room reacted instantly. The candles shot higher. The shadows twisted, lengthening toward me like claws. Behind them, the dead guests began turning their heads in unison to look at me. One by one, bones cracking, jaws creaking, eyes widening. Asa extended his arm toward the table. There's an empty chair waiting. I bolted, not toward the locked front door, but toward the hallway beyond the dining room. I didn't have a plan. I just needed space, time, a chance to breathe. But as I hit the hallway, I heard the woman's calm voice behind me. You can run, dear. We did too. But the house always brings you back. And then, somewhere deep within the walls, the house answered her. A long, slow creaking, like it was turning to face me. I sprinted down the hallway. Every step echoed like I was running inside a giant hollow chest. The wallpaper peeled in long curls. Family portraits hung crooked on the walls, their faces blurred as if smeared by invisible hands. The floorboards groaned under me, shifting like muscle instead of wood. I didn't look back. I couldn't. But I felt them behind me. The dead guests scraping their chairs back from the table, their stiff limbs dragging across the floor, their heads knocking against door frames as they followed, and behind them, the house itself seemed to breathe deeper. I reached the end of the hallway and skidded into what looked like a sitting room. Old couches, a stone fireplace, a dusty window showing nothing but swirling snow. The storm outside didn't sound natural anymore. It sounded alive, like 1,000 whispering voices pressed against the glass. I grabbed a brass lamp, desperate, and hurled it at the window. It bounced off. The glass didn't even crack. Instead, frost crawled across it in spiraling patterns, shapes that looked disturbingly like hands reaching inward. No, no, no. Footsteps approached from behind me. Slow, deliberate, soft, but heavy enough to send vibrations up my legs. I turned toward the doorway. The woman stood there. Her smile was gone now. In its place was something calmer, emptier, a caretaker's expression. "Please don't make this harder," she said gently. "It's Thanksgiving. You're supposed to stay." I backed against the window, breath shaking. "You said you didn't want me trapped here." She nodded. "We don't." Her eyes softened. "But what the house wants is different." Behind her, Asa appeared, his face lit from below by the flickering hallway lights, casting hollow shadows under his eyes. "The house keeps who it needs," he murmured. "Why me?" I choked. The woman tilted her head. "The house is hungry." And then the entire room lurched, not metaphorically, physically. The floor shifted under me, tilting just a few degrees, but enough to send books tumbling off shelves, enough to make the chandelier sway like a pendulum. I threw my arms out to steady myself. As I did, the doorway behind them narrowed. The wooden frame pulled inward, shrinking, twisting, bending like warm clay, until the opening was only wide enough for one person at a time, trapping me, cutting off escape. The woman stepped inside the room, then Asa. Behind them, I heard the soft dragging of the dead guest's feet. I looked around frantically. One door, one window that refused to break, a fireplace. My eyes locked onto it, the chimney. It wasn't a plan, but it was the only thing left. I lunged toward it. Asa shouted, "Don't let him climb!" The woman rushed forward. I scrambled onto the hearth, coughing as cold soot coated my hands. I jammed my fingers into the rough stone and pulled myself upward. The chimney was narrow, black, claustrophobic. But as I climbed, I heard Asa's voice below me. "The house won't like that." And then a deep, rumbling growl vibrated through the bricks. Not an animal, not the storm, something older, something waking up. From inside the walls. The chimney was tighter than I expected. Cold bricks scraped my shoulders as I pushed upward, knees and elbows grinding against soot-caked walls that felt warm. Not warm like leftover heat, warm like skin. Below me, I heard the woman's voice echo, "Please come down. The house doesn't like when they climb." They? How many had tried this before? I kept going. My breath came in short bursts, mixing with soot until every inhale tasted like ash. The chimney seemed endless, a vertical tunnel swallowing me whole. Then the bricks above my head shifted, just slightly, but enough that I nearly slipped. I froze. Another vibration moved through the structure, like something massive was stretching inside the walls. Below, Asa called out, "It's closing! You need to come back before it seals!" But the narrowing bricks didn't feel like a trap. They felt like a throat. I shoved upward harder, panic flooding my body. Every muscle shook as I clawed for the next edge of brick. A deep, wet sound echoed from somewhere above, like mud being stirred. Then something dripped down onto my face. Warm, thick. I wiped it with my sleeve, but in the darkness I couldn't see what it was. The smell hit a second later. Copper, metallic, blood. I almost screamed. The chimney walls flexed again, a pulsing contraction that squeezed inward. Brick grinding against brick like the bones of a giant creature tightening around me. I had seconds. I braced my feet and pushed with everything I had. My shoulder popped as I forced myself upward through the tightening gap. Then, light, a faint gray glow above me, the exit hatch where the chimney met the open night sky. I reached for it, but something wrapped around my ankle. Cold, rough, wide, a hand, someone, or something was inside the chimney with me. Its grip tightened, yanking downward, hard enough to tear my skin against the bricks. I kicked wildly. My boot slammed into a solid, unmoving arm. The voice that rose from below wasn't Ace's, and it wasn't the woman's. It didn't sound human at all. A deep whisper crawled up the chimney. "Stay for dinner." The chimney walls convulsed again, squeezing harder, closing around my ribs as if the entire structure wanted to crush me back down into the house. I stretched my fingers toward the opening, the faint winter storm swirling just out of reach. The hand tightened. I screamed, and then something shifted above. The wind howled, blasting cold air downward, and the sudden temperature change loosened the thing's grip just enough. I lunged upward one last time, shoving my arm through the opening. My hand broke into the freezing night air. Snow hit my skin. I was almost out. Almost. But the house wasn't done with me yet. I froze. Because the sound I heard in the hallway wasn't footsteps, it was breathing. Slow. Wet. Almost practiced. I stayed still behind the kitchen counter, barely even blinking. And then I heard it. "Son," my dad's voice. Except it wasn't right. The tone was thinner, like someone stretching a recording, trying too hard to mimic familiarity. I didn't move. The voice came again. "Come out. We should finish dinner. Together." I felt the air grow colder in the room. My breath turned into a faint mist. I knew one thing for sure, that wasn't my dad. Something shuffled just outside my line of sight. Not walking, dragging, as if it couldn't quite figure out how legs were supposed to work. A soft, scraping sound brushed along the wall. Then something tapped the floor, lightly at first, then twice, then 3 times. I realized what it was doing. It was mimicking my knock signal with my dad, the same one we used whenever he came home late from work. 3 taps meant, "It's me, open the door." My stomach twisted. It was using memories it should not have. I gripped the kitchen drawer edge and slid it open slowly. Inside was a carving knife. Sharp, heavy. I didn't want to fight, but I needed something, anything. The creature stopped tapping. Silence flooded the house. Then I heard the dining room chair creak, as if something had sat down at the Thanksgiving table. "Dinner's getting cold," and the voice whispered from right around the corner. Lower this time, almost amused. I tightened my grip on the knife, my hands shaking. And then I saw it. A reflection in the dark oven door. A tall shape, bending over the table, wearing my dad's face like a mask that didn't quite fit. Its head turned slowly toward the kitchen. Too slowly, too deliberately. And in the reflection, I watched its mouth stretch into a smile far wider than any human jaw should allow. "Come eat," it mouthed silently. My heart hammered. I took one careful step backward, then another, trying not to make a sound. Because now I knew something even worse. It could see me. Not through the doorway, not through the reflection, but as if it already knew exactly where I was standing, where I was breathing, every second. I felt the floorboard shift under my foot, a tiny creak, barely audible. The creature's head snapped toward me, its face rippling, reshaping, like it was deciding which human expression would scare me more. I held my breath. Then, footsteps. From outside, fast, heavy, running straight toward the house. I turned toward the front door. It shook violently as fists slammed against it. And then I heard a voice I recognized instantly. "Son, open the door. It's me, your father." I bolted toward the front door. The wood splintered under my shoulder as I slammed against it. Fists pounded from the other side, fast, insistent, human. "Jordan, open up. It's me." My dad's voice this time was real. Not fake, not warped. I twisted the knob frantically. It turned. The door flew open into the freezing night. Snow whipped my face, wind tore at my jacket. Cold stung my lungs. Behind me, the house groaned. The roof creaked. The walls shivered like a living thing. I didn't look back. I didn't stop. I ran into the blizzard, snow crunching under my boots. My dad's voice shouted behind me. but I kept running, desperate to put distance between myself and that nightmare house. Then I felt it, a pull at my ankle, like the house itself had reached into the storm. My foot snagged, I stumbled, I whipped around, nothing. The snow had swallowed any sign of the house. It was gone, just the storm, relentless, white, and infinite. I ran until my lungs burned, until my fingers went numb, until my father's real voice called me from the distance again, cutting through the wind. "Jordan, this way!" I followed it blindly, through drifts taller than me, through icy fields and skeletal trees. Eventually, I saw headlights, a road, a car, my father waving from inside. I ran the last 100 feet, sliding in the snow, and jumped inside. The warmth hit me immediately. I gasped for air. Safe, finally. At least that's what I thought, because as I looked back at the empty snow-covered road, I saw the faintest glimmer of golden light far in the distance, flickering, waiting, like a candle behind frosted glass. And I knew. The house wasn't done. It never would be. Weeks passed. Life returned to normal, or so I thought. I was back at work, back at my apartment, back to eating regular Thanksgiving dinners. But the memory of that house never left me. Every snowstorm, I flinched. Every warm light in a window made my stomach twist. Then one night, almost a month later, my phone rang. No number displayed. Just a single line of text accompanying it. "Dinner's ready." I froze, hands trembling, heart hammering. I deleted it. I changed my number. I moved my route deliveries farther from isolated roads. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't matter. Because that house, and the people who waited for it, they never forget. And sometimes when the wind howls through the trees, I think I hear the creak of a chair. I think I see a flickering candle through the snow. I think I feel the pull, drawing me back. And I know, one day the house will call me home again. If this story kept you watching, there's another real horror waiting for you. Click on the screen and don't watch it alone.